Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dire Samuel Mastery. Oh, I said Dire Samuel Mastery. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dire Samuel Report. I am Dire Samuel and I'm reporting live from the United Kingdom. Today, we want to talk about why talented people fail. As I'm going to be making presentation from here, so my screen is here, and there is the stream monitoring here. So in case you're seeing me looking around, it's basically because I'm trying to monitor things. All right. So today I want us to talk about why talented people fail. And this is a conversation I've been wanting to have for quite a long time that I've not had yet. Let's talk about some challenges, multi potentialites, generalists, people that are multi talented, some of the challenges they face, and how we can together handle some of these. Multi potentialites, talented people are people with varied interests, skills, talents, but sometimes these multiple skills, multiple talents, multiple interests can create obstacles that overwhelm us, obstacles that grow so big that they overwhelm the curiosity, the life that the passion, the skills, the interest that we have are meant to actually bring to the world. And that's why today I want to actually share this with us. I want to share this with you on this particular episode of the podcast. All right, so I'm going to be taking myself out of the screen sometimes so as to make this focused on the actual conversation that we are going to be having. Some questions that I've been asking for quite a while now, since I became intimately aware of my multi-potentialite tendencies, are questions like, what's wrong with being a generalist? What holds us back from being truly great? Why does it appear as though people who are talented are the ones who suffer the most from being all that they can be? And that has made me to dig a lot into materials research, and I keep trying to find answers to all of this. And today I want to share some of those findings with you. What I'm going to be sharing with you today is going to be based on a book, Advice for a Young Investigator by Santiago Ramon Cajal. And in the book, there's a part where it talks about the disease of the will, where he presented a taxonomy of the ethical weaknesses and intellectual poverty that keep even the most gifted young person from ascending to greatness. I'm going to be sharing from that. And everything I'm going to be discussing is coming from that book, particularly. It's one of those old books. And by the way, if you're wondering who Santiago is, he happens to be one of the persons, they hail him as the father of modern anatomy and neurobiology. He is credited to be largely responsible for the modern conception of the brain. Now, having mentioned that, he talked about three things, about actually 60 things. And number one, he talks about the persona of the contemplator, which is someone who loves the study of nature, but only for the aesthetic qualities, which I'm going to be calling not creating anything original in this conversation. Two, it talks about bibliophiles and polyglots, who are those who use erudition, that is ability, gift of gab, as a tool for furthering, not as a tool for furthering humanity's enlightenment, but more like their own personal ornament of what today we call vanity metrics, which I'm going to label always learning and never doing. And then third, we have those Santiago refers to as megalomaniacs, who in this case, I'm going to label them as overconfident, talented people who become careless. Santiago describes this category of persons who he refers to as megalomaniacs as people who may be talented and motivated, but they are bedeviled by, let me just check comment to be sure I'm not missing anything. They are bedeviled by a deadly overconfidence that ultimately renders them careless and unrigorous in their work. Now, those are three. There are three others that he talks about. And the three others, one of them is what he calls um, the instrument addicts. The instrument addicts are those who you will easily recognize them by a sort of worship for research instruments. They they well, I'm going to talk about them later on. And then there are those who Santiago calls misfits. And then the last category, he called them theorists. Let me remove myself from that screen. He calls them theorists. He says that they claim to view things on a grand scale. They live in the clouds. They prefer the book to the monograph. They are brilliant and audacious, but their hypotheses seem to lack sound concepts. Now, each of these six personas that he describes, again, contemplator is what I'm going to be calling not creating anything original. Second is always learning and never doing. Third is overconfidence that makes talented people careless. And the fourth is those who love tools and gadgets. Fifth is those who are misfits. And interestingly, by the time we talk about misfits, you understand why it's probably a better label. And then there are those it refers to as those who are addicted to their confirmation bias. Now, as we go on, I want to make this note here. This is the final episode of this series that I've been running. This perhaps brings season one of the Dire Summer Report podcast to an end. So this is where I'm going to bring this season one to an end. And I've been trying to understand, trying to figure out that, okay, even though I've tried to avoid talking about the problems, multi-potentialite, generalist, people who have multiple skills, multiple interests, multi-skilled professionals, even though I've tried to avoid talking about the challenges, particularly the mental traps that they get into, it became obvious to me that I need to talk about it so that it doesn't become more like I'm sharing only solutions, sharing stories, but I'm not talking about some of the problems that render people who are talented, people who are skilled, people who are neurodivergent, as I have begun to understand, the mental traps that actually keep them bound, that actually stops them from achieving greatness, that stops them from becoming all that they can be. And so, as we go on in this conversation today, I'm going to be sharing these six mental traps, and I'm hoping that they become a way for you to understand yourself and become a way for you to be able to make more of the things that matter to you. All right. So, the first mental trap is not creating anything original. Now, talented individuals, we know that people like me, people like yourself, we are both intellectually and creatively ambitious. But interestingly, it appears that despite our abundant energy and initiative, they, they often struggle to produce original work, and they seldom actually give any creative outlet to all of the things that they know. So that means that you know so much, but you don't publish. You know so much, but you don't write. You know so much that you don't even let anything out. You just know everything and you just trap it within the wrap of, I know I'm a journalist, I know I'm gifted, I know I can do all these things, but you are not letting anything go out. Santiago, in his book, he states that a scholar's positive contribution is measured by the sum of the original data that it contributes. It means that it says hypotheses come and go, but data remain. Theories desert us, data defend us. And it says that these things that go out from us, they are our true resources. They are our true real estate. They are, so I'm going to quickly do something here. All right. So they are our true real estates and our best pedigree. Now, if you know so much, you do so much, you are gifted, talented, skilled, but nothing is coming out from you, that presents a paradox. How can someone be intellectually creative yet produce unoriginal outputs? It's a conflict between creativity, and tangible results. And this paradox can be better understood through a framework that I created called the thinking versus a leading matrix. Here's how that works. Now, sometimes I call that the branded thought leadership matrix. This is a framework that I designed to help individuals and organizations identify and enhance their voice and influence in their industry. So, if you want to influence someone or you want to become a person of influence within the marketplace, this is a framework that's going to rapidly help you. And I'm matching this framework with this conversation about the mental traps that we get into as talented persons, as multi-potentialites, as generalists, as jack of all trades, that doesn't let us achieve the greatness that we have the capacity, the potential to achieve. All right. Having said that, let me show you the model here. I'm going to take myself off the screen right now. So I'm going to take myself off the screen so that you can understand this model. Again, I call it the branded thought leadership matrix. And it's basically it actually categorizes thought leadership into 4 distinct quadrants based on 2 dimensions. So the first dimension is thinking. The second dimension is leading. Thinking represents the flexibility of your ideas and how open you are to new concepts and innovations. Leading, on the other hand, which is it x-axis now, measures the strength and the influence of your leadership and how effectively you drive change and inspire others. Now, I'm going to bring myself back on the screen here, and I'm going to say this here. If you are a multi-potentialite, if you are a generalist, if you are a multi-skilled professional, the most important work that you can do is the work of thinking and the work of leading. For example, if you are going to be in an interview, let's say you are in the process of getting a job, as a multi-skilled professional, it is your thinking and your ability to lead that conversation that will help the people that are considering hiring you, or whether they're not even considering hiring you. It is your thinking and your ability to lead that's going to influence them to say, okay, I think this person has something that is far better than the original job description or the original person requirements we were looking for. And this is where that thinking and leading becomes pretty important, because again, this model actually helps individuals, or maybe I say it categorizes individuals based on their flexibility in thinking and their adeptness or their skillfulness in leading themselves. So I'm going to bring that model up on screen again. Now, I'm going to explain each of these right now. And if you're listening to this via audio, you will get the best benefit from this if you actually watch the video, because right now I have a model on my screen, and the model is basically a regular matrix. On the y-axis, the matrix is labeled as thinking. On the x-axis, we have leading. The top is flexible, the bottom is thinking. So that means there are 2 types of thinking: flexible thinking, fixed thinking. And on the x-axis, we have leading, and there are 2 types: weak leading, strong leading. And each of these creates a box where many times we find ourselves in. The first box here will be reactive. This is where flexible thinking and weak leading come together. Now, individuals like this may have reckless ideas and they may tend to react to situations without strong direction. The second quadrant is creative. And this is where you find flexible thinking, strong leading. So they have strong leadership and their thinking is flexible. Now, these individuals have a bold voice. They're able to generate innovative ideas and take decisive actions to implement them. Now we get to the third axis, which is the third quadrant of this matrix. And this third quadrant is conservative, which is where we have fixed thinking and strong leadership. These individuals follow traditional methods and tried and true approaches with everything they do. So they do not try to reinvent the wheel. They simply say, okay, how has it been done? This is how we are going to do it. And the fourth quadrant, which is that of fixed thinking and weak leadership. These individuals are characterized by a timid voice. They are lacking both in innovative leadership or innovative ideas. They don't actually have anything innovative to share, even though they are multi-potentialite. Now, interesting thing is that talented people will find themselves with paradox, this paradox of flexible thinking, creative thinking, weak leadership, strong leadership. And sometimes you find that some people find themselves flexible and creative in their thinking, but they fall short in the area of leadership, which results in a wealth of ideas that they never realize. Now, in order to overcome this, there are a couple of things I'm going to be sharing with you as we go on in this conversation. But of course, the first thing will be for them to enhance their leadership skills. So if you find yourself, you have a lot of ideas, but your leadership is weak, your ability to execute, your ability to carry out the different ideas that you are ideating, then you need to work on your leadership skills in order to be able to convert your creative thoughts into tangible outcomes. Let's go to the next mental trap. The next mental trap is that of always learning and never doing. Some individuals are perpetually engrossed in learning for its own sake rather than applying their knowledge. Because they are multi-talented, because they're multi-skilled, because they're multi-potential, they're jack of all trades, they're just constantly learning. They're just constantly learning, always learning, always learning, always learning. And as Santiago in his book describes, he says they treat the acquisition of information as a personal trophy. They prefer to relish in the latest and greatest concepts without any intention of practical application. These are the kind of people you meet who will say that, oh, have you read so book? Have you read so article? Have you come across this latest stuff? So, in fact, sometimes they are at the forefront of innovative ideas because their thinking is constantly changing. And you find that they have these encyclopedic tendencies, which is often which is often filled with impractical ideas. You may see that these kind of people subscribe to the latest newsletters, they subscribe to the best journals, they subscribe to the highly specialized YouTube channel just because they are constantly looking for new information, new ideas to absorb. Now, this behavior results in a form of intellectual stagnation where creation is stifled by an insatiable hunger for knowledge. I've been in this situation before. I've been in this situation before where, in fact, last year when I wanted to bring back my newsletter, I recall that I constantly kept reading almost everything about newsletter. I began to read a lot about newsletter. Now, I've been doing newsletters for a while. I actually started the Dire Summer Report, sometimes maybe 2018, 19, 20, 20, thereabout. I can't even remember the exact time I started. But I know I've been publishing newsletters, even though it was a completely different industry. Now, I wanted to bring back the newsletter, and I started reading about all kind of newsletters, about how newsletters grow, subscribe to a lot of newsletters. A couple of days ago, actually, I unsubscribed from over 47 different newsletters that I had subscribed to as part of me understanding how things have changed. But I found myself trapped in a cycle. I was just constantly learning. Writing, I did not do. Newsletter, I did not write. YouTube video, I was not publishing. I just kept reading. Then one day, I came across a tweet. And the tweet said that if you know what to do and you are still looking for information, you are deceiving. I can't even recall how the tweet ended it, but that phrase of if you know what to do and you are still learning, whether you are buying courses or you're reading books, then you have simply put yourself under an hypnosis. And that day, it was like, do I know what to do? I said, yes. Do I know exactly how to do what to do next? I said, yes. So what's stopping me? And then that day I decided, you know what? I even told the story inside my newsletter. I told the story and told my subscriber that, well, I've been postponing doing this, but it's time to resume it. This was a tweet I saw that jacked me out of my own hypnosis. So there are people who are always learning and never doing. Now, when I bring back that model, that branded thought leadership, that thinking versus leading matrix, you find that these individuals find themselves in a reactive quadrant where their flexible thinking leads to continuous learning, but they lack the leadership to apply the knowledge that they're acquiring. So, to avoid this, you want to focus on applying what you are learning. Start small by implementing ideas in major projects. So, build up gradually towards larger, more impactful entrepreneurs, endeavors, rather. That's how I handle it. And that's what I'm going to suggest to you to do as well. Now, let's move on to the third mental trap. The third mental trap is that of overconfidence, which makes talented people fail. People with this type of failure are characterized by noble and winning traits. They love, they study a great deal and love personal activities. They even worship action, and they have mastered the techniques needed for them to execute on anything. But their flaw is that they have too much of confidence that too much confidence can become braggadocious. I was having a conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago, and as I was having the conversation with this person who was trying to do user research, after the conversation, I paused. Okay, while I was having the conversation, the person actually said that looks like you are very advanced compared to beginner. You are not a beginner, you are very advanced. And I replied the person and I said, um, it will be wrong for me to say that I am a beginner. I'm not a beginner. So yes, I'm very advanced. And I told the person that that was one of the reasons why I decided to stop buying courses, because a lot of courses were not for my level. Many of the courses I was buying, at least throughout 2023, many of them were just for beginners, and I'm not a beginner. So as we were having that conversation, after that conversation, I went back and I said, wait, are you sure you're not being too overconfident in that conversation? Are you sure you are not just bragging? And that taunted me for days, because I began to think about, how will this other person think? Will this other person think that I've actually given him what he's looking for? I've just basically spoken more about myself. Now, this kind of thing often leads to continuous planning and revising without actual execution. Because after I had a conversation with that guy, I started going back and say, okay, let me go and revise this. Let me go and revise that. Maybe this is our. And at some point, I had to jack myself out and say, wait. Are you doing this because you want to please this other person, or you are doing it because you're actually being true to yourself? And that's a question many of us need to answer. If I bring back this model here, this branded thought leadership here, this kind of people who are overconfident, you find them in this category where they are creative. They fall into this creative quadrant where, due to their flexible thinking, they are always coming up with new ideas, coming up with grand ideas, but they lack the practical leadership to start with smaller, more manageable projects. So, a practical solution that I have implemented in my own life is I tackle small problems first, allow the success to build confidence in me, and I gradually use that approach to nurture more things and develop my ability to take on even more things. Do you get what I've just explained here? Great. Now let's move on to the fourth, or maybe the fifth. I think this should be the fourth mental trap that talented people get into, and that is an irrational love for tools and gadgets. This particular flaw is currently predominant in our online culture right now, where it's easy for someone to say, oh, I found a new tool. This tool can do this new tool can do that. And you find out that people get fascinated by tools and gadgets, And sometimes they often prioritize the tool and the gadget or the new app or the latest technology. They prioritize it more than the actual productive work that they are meant to be doing. Now, digitally, this manifests in a constant pursuit of new tools, and sometimes overshadowing the core value proposition of that tool or that app. And in my experience, I've realized that it appears as though people who tend to be in the know about new technology, new ideas, especially if they are multi talented, they tend to glorify the slickiness of an invention, whether that's an app, whether that's a gadget, whether that's a new technology, over the actual thing that they too can do. And when I looked at it through this matrix again, what I realized that people like that who love gadgets, who love all of that, sometimes they fall into the reactive quadrant because, of course, that's flexible ideas, new gadgets. They're constantly adopting new ideas, but they don't have the strong leadership to apply them effectively. And so, to counter this, you want to focus on leveraging existing tools to their fullest potential before moving on to new ones, which means that you are balancing innovative ideas, you are balancing new ideas with strong leadership. Do you get it now? All right. So let's move on to the next mental trap. And the next mental trap is called misfit. Now, you may think that misfit means that someone who will probably uh, be contrarian. Hi, Kenny. Thank you for that comment. You think it's actually about being contrarian, but that's not what misfit means. Using the exact words of Santiago Ramoni Cajal, it says misfits are individuals who have ended up in vocations or in environments unsuited to their inherent talents, which stops them from reaching their potential. So instead of being abnormal, being people who move the society or move our thinking forward, misfits are simply unfortunate individuals who have hard work, the career, the profession that is unsuited to their natural aptitudes imposed on them by adverse circumstances. This means that sometimes the work they do is imposed on them by their family, imposed on them by society, imposed on them by their religion. They are not actually doing what truly makes them happy. I know on this podcast, I say a lot that my goal is to give you the courage and the necessary insights you need to lead your life and business in the direction that matters the most to you. And that's why I'm bringing this part of misfit here, because sometimes you can get so conformity or conformative to the point, or conforming, that's the correct word. Thank you for that. You can get so conforming that you see yourself as, you can get so conforming that you become a misfit in the things that truly matter to you. So you find that even though these persons have a lot of abilities, they have a lot of skills, and they have a lot of talents, they know a lot of things. Despite their abilities, they lack the courage to change their course. They lack the courage to um, choose what truly matters to them, ultimately failing to reconcile their calling, their vocation, and their profession. Now, if I bring it again, the matrix, that model that I've been sharing with you, if I bring it back here, what you'll find on this model is that misfits often fall into the inactive quadrant, where fixed thinking and weak leading is preventing them from making the necessary changes that they need to make. And what I can do right now is I want to encourage you to create a shift in your own life. Ask yourself, what exactly is holding you back from becoming all that you can be? What's stopping you from leading your life in the way that truly matters to you? What's stopping you from doing the things that truly matter to you? Now, this is not a campaign for the pursuit of happiness, as it is broadly labeled, especially in the West, in the US. This is not a campaign for that idealistic pursuit of happiness. This is more about you creating the shift in your life so that you can help yourself become the better fit for your talents, become the better fit for your skills, become the better fit for your genius. Now, let me not hammer on that too much. This will be the sixth and the final mental trap that people who are talented get into, which is an addiction to confirmation bias. Now, addiction to confirmation bias simply means, in fact, I'm going to use the words of Ramon, the person I've been quoting since. It says that it refers to them as theorists. So it means the theorists become so embedded, so they buy into the idea so much, they buy into the hypothesis, and they shy away from testing their ideas and hypotheses against reality. And instead, they continually narrow their lens to only factor in on what supports their theories. As soon as they happen to notice a slight half-hidden analogy between two phenomena, or succeed in fitting some new data into other framework, perhaps of a general theory, whether that idea is true or false, they get excited, they dance for joy, and genuinely believe that they are the most admirable of reformers. They are the best of the best. The the method is legitimate in principle, but they abuse it by failing or falling into the pit of viewing things from a single perspective. I'm trying to see how this thing can make me be in the center, but it's not letting me be in the center. So, okay, it looks like it's putting me in the center a little bit now. Okay, that's fine. All right. I'm going to leave it like that. All right. So, just to continue this conversation here, Thomas Aquinas once said that beware of the man of a single book. Now, the thing I'm going to point out here is if you read one book on a topic and use that as a basis for your beliefs for an entire category of your life, I want to ask you, how sound are those beliefs? How accurate and complete is your knowledge? I know I've encountered people who use one book or one article as a basis for their entire philosophy. And this is even more true and difficult when it comes to using one experience in your life, one individual experience as the basis for core beliefs. Is the reason why in Fear Resolve, in my system that I teach about fear, I always go back to when that belief, when that script was installed. How many legs are those beliefs sitting on? And the reason why I always do that is because I know that our beliefs are very strong. The things we believe in are very strong. But if that belief is coming from just one source, if that belief is formed by just one thing, what happens is we fall into a trap where we will constantly look for only the things, the ideas, the information that confirms what we believe. We will never look for something else that contradicts our belief. And that's something that happens to a lot of multi-talented people. Now, and of well, a tangent idea in my head right now says, what do you think about religious books? Could reading religious book multiple times be the reason why a lot of people are hypnotized? Well, many people, let me not say a lot of people, why some people are hypnotized, perhaps they are reading it through a lens to confirm the beliefs and ideas they have. David Kane once said that when we only learn something once, we don't really learn it, at least not well. Not well enough for it to change us as much. It may inspire us momentarily, but then that becomes quickly overrun by decades of habits, belief scripts that were previously installed. So when you want to expose yourself, you want to get beyond your confirmation bias, what you want to do is you want to constantly expose yourself to information that contradicts. And I know a lot of people say that, oh, you have to stick to your belief. You have to stick to your belief. The question is, what are your beliefs based on? Are your beliefs truly your beliefs or the beliefs of other people that you've bought into? And now you become a proponent of that propaganda. Or let's say a proponent of that belief. For some people, propaganda must sound like a huge language. Now, let me explain it to you using that same model that I've been sharing with you so far. Now, these individuals will be in a box where I call conservative. They show strong leadership in the sense that you cannot easily influence their thinking. You can, in fact, their thinking is actually fixed and they have very strong leadership, which limits their openness to new ideas anyway. So, in order to deal with this, it's essential to read a variety of sources on the same topic. So, in my own case, being a multi-skilled professional, what I do a lot is rather than so if I pick a topic, I read multiple sources for that topic. I go from what people talk about the most to what people don't even talk about at all. What people agree with the most and what people don't agree with at all. I do that so as to help myself understand the complete picture. Then I can now form my own beliefs from having the complete picture. I remember having a conversation with someone, and the person is having a crisis of faith. And I told the person that it's good that you're having this crisis of faith at this particular stage of your life, because later on, when everything will become integrated in your mind, that's when you will begin to realize that it was actually good that I had been this, then I encountered that, and now I can create my own position out of all of that life experience that has happened to me. And that's something that's happened to me too, because there was a time in my life that there were things that truly that I thought mattered so much to me. But as I began to read, as I began to consult and add other information, consult other books, consult other materials, I began to understand that some ideas that I'd held on to, even from childhood, some of them were not completely true. Yes, they've lasted for 2,000 plus years. Some of them have been in existence for 4,000 plus years, but that doesn't mean that they are actually true. And gradually, I began to shelve those ideas. I began to, well, should I say, take off those ideas, because I began to realize that they were not helping me become who I needed to be. So again, it's important to read from variety of sources, explore different angles, explore different perspectives so that you can broaden your understanding. Read a variety of books on the same topic. Look at the problem through various authors' eyes so that you can transcend the boundary of your own personal experience. In fact, you need to even transcend the boundary of you need to go beyond the personal experiences of the people who write. So if you are reading research, understand that that research is contextual to the people who were in that research. It doesn't mean that that is what it is for every other person. Now, this approach means that you are able to develop flexible thinking and informed leadership. So continuously challenge and expand your knowledge base by engaging with diverse sources. This practice ensures that you have a more balanced, more comprehensive understanding, which means that you have stronger leadership. Yes, your thinking may be fixed, but it means that it's now fixed based on something you choose, not something that was created or rained down through your truth. So far, I've walked you through a couple of things here. Let me bring everything I've shared with you here. Let me bring them to your mind. So far, I've been talking to you from the book Advice for a Young Investigator by Santiago Ramon y Cajal. We've been talking about why talented people fail. And so far, I've shared with you 6 mental traps, which Santiago calls contemplators, bibliophiles and polyglots, and megalomaniacs. And he continues, he says, instrument addicts, misfits, and theorists. What I want to do here is I simply want you to take a moment to reflect here. When are you going to break the frame of the hypnosis of culture that tells you to settle for less than you can be? By taking some of the ideas that I've shared with you so far, you can better understand the challenges that generalists, jack of all trade polymaths like yourself and myself find or that we encounter. And perhaps you can begin to see, okay, this is the mental trap I fall into. This is how I should be able to help myself out of that. And my hope is that this conversation will spark a shift within you so that you can now say, okay, let me actually take time to reflect on who I truly want to be. Because again, yes, it's okay, it's fine. As what her name says, you can be everything. You also need to understand that you have to choose the everything that you can be. My name is Dio Samuel, and this is going to be the final episode in season 1 of the Dio Samuel Report. I'm going to go on break for a couple of weeks. During that break, I'll probably resume with a fresh new season. In the next season, we'll take this conversation from here, so we'll take it further. But in the next season, we will not particularly focus on generalists in the next season. In the next season, we will probably start focusing on how you, as a generalist, as a jack of all trades, as a multi-potentialite, how you can begin to integrate all of these different skills you have into a business that serves a purpose. I'm going to, in the next episode, in the next season, actually, I'm going to be talking a lot about you being an expert, you being a thought leader. Again, using this framework that I've just shared with you, you're going to start seeing how that plays out in the next season. I hope this has been helpful to you. I am Dio Samuel, and this has been a wonderful run on this season of the Dio Samuel Report. I hope I've been able to share some of the research reports with you so far. Thank you very much for joining me for each of the episodes that we've run so far. I think this should be episode maybe 6, 7, thereabout. I can't even recall the number anymore. And 2 weeks ago, no, not 2 weeks ago, I think about a week ago, thereabout, I actually moved all my old podcasts over to YouTube. So if you like to see, if you would like to know where I've been coming from, some of the things I've been doing, some of the things I've been talking about for years, you might want to check out some of my old podcasts. And you'll find all of that at my YouTube channel. Dio Samuel is my name. All right. Thank you very much for joining me in this particular episode. I bid you Godspeed, and I hope that you find the thing you're looking for in the shortest amount of time. I'll see you in the next season of the Dio Samuel Report. Thank you very much.